This will be a short lecture on Psalm 125, which is one of the Songs of Ascent. And my name is Dr. Joe Sprinkle. Begin by reading the psalm. Read it out of the New American Standard Bible, a Song of Ascent. Those who trust in the Lord are as Mount Zion, which cannot be moved, but abides forever. As the mountains surround Jerusalem, so the Lord surrounds his people from this time forth and forever. For the scepter of wickedness shall not rest upon the land of the righteous, that the righteous may not put forth their hands to do wrong. Do good, O Lord, to those who are good and to those who are upright in their hearts. But as for those who turn aside to their crooked ways, the Lord will lead them away with the doers of iniquity. Peace be upon Israel. Some introductory matters. Title Songs of Ascent applies to all the Psalms of 120 through 134. It probably refers to pilgrim psalms, and we have a separate video that discusses that. And as such, it was a collection used by pilgrims when making the trip to the sanctuary during the three pilgrim feasts of Passover weeks and booths, or also called tabernacles. And again, one always ascends to Jerusalem. As far as the author, this one is anonymous. The date of it is also unknown. Book 5 of the Psalter has a number of post-exilic psalms. Leupold, in his commentary on Psalms, suggests the time of Nehemiah for Psalm 125, but it's really anybody's guess. The genre seems to be a mixed one. Verses 1 through 3 looks like a psalm of confidence, but then verses 4 and 5 looks like a communal lament. So it is a mixture in that regard. Overall, we've labeled the psalm a psalm of confidence, but it does have that lament feature in the last couple of verses. So we start with the first analogy in verse 1. Those who trust in the Lord are like Mount Zion that cannot be shaken, that endures forever. And again, you might notice the emblematic parallelism, 2 lines of poetry, one of which has as or like. And the mountains do surround Jerusalem. These are some of the mountains near Jerusalem. And so the analogy here relates to the geography that the pilgrims would see as they were going to visit the Temple Mount. They would pass through mountainous territory to get to Jerusalem, and the temple is itself on a hill, on a mount, and therefore the mountains play a role in this psalm. Now, of course, you could ask the question, is it really true that God protects his people the way the psalm describes? In fact, if he does surround his people to protect them, why do bad things happen to them? And at least one answer is that no suffering befalls us unless God so wills and allows it. I take this to be a general truth, like the truths in the book of Proverbs, that God in general protects us from harm. And if he doesn't, in a particular occasion, there must be a good reason behind the reason why he didn't. And if we believe that, that will change the way we look at life and the way that we look at suffering But now he goes to an unsettling situation in verse 3. The scepter of wickedness will not remain over the land allotted to the righteous, for the righteous, for then the righteous might use their hands to do evil, or as the American Standard puts it, for the scepter of wickedness shall not rest on the land of the righteous, that the righteous may not put forth their hands to do wrong. And the question is, well, what exactly is this scepter of wickedness? Some have taken the scepter of wickedness to be Persian officials who were abusing their power. Some have taken it to be faithless Jews who maybe collaborated with their Persian oppressors. Some have taken it to be the Samaritans, the Samaritan rulers like Sanballat, described in Nehemiah 1, who threatened Judah with harm. We don't really know, but the danger of this scepter of wickedness is that this bad situation that the scepter of wickedness produces could cause the righteous to lose faith, to cooperate with the bad example of the wicked, and thus do wrong. Out of fear, believers might be tempted to do that which is wrong and go astray because of it. But the affirmation here is that this scepter, this ruler, or whatever he was, is not going to last forever. For the scepter of wickedness shall not rest upon the land of the righteous. It's not going to remain there forever. In other words, this evil is only temporary. It will ultimately come to an end. And then it has a prayer and a curse. Do good, O Lord, to those who are good and to those who are upright in their hearts. But as for those who turn aside to their crooked ways, may the Lord lead them away from the doers of iniquity. Lead them away with the doers of iniquity. Peace be upon Israel. Notice that this contains a relatively mild curse. The prayer is in positive for the righteous, but for those who turn aside to their crooked ways, it's either a prediction, the Lord will lead them away with the doers of iniquity, or may the Lord lead them away with the doers of iniquity. In any case, he either predicts or prays for what he believes will happen, that God will punish those who do evil. And so, what are we to make of this particular psalm? Well, we can see that there is comfort in God's protection. As Christians, we have the comfort of knowing that a good God watches over and protects us. In the degree that we really believe in a Heavenly Father who loves and looks after us, to that degree, we will show rock solid faith despite the difficult circumstances that we're in. We'll be able to trust in the Lord and be like Mount Zion that cannot be shaken. We can also learn to trust in God despite our circumstances. Psalmist's statement about trust are especially meaningful given the situation was far from perfect. There were those who wielded this scepter of wickedness. So this psalmist trusts in God's protection and has solid faith, even though things are not going all that well. And that's an example of when things are going badly, if you can still show faith in God. My daughter Rebecca underwent chemotherapy for leukemia when she was 4, had a bone marrow transplant when she was 6. And by grace, my wife and I showed some degree of faith and trust in God despite those circumstances. And our faith in God gave us the faith to endure a really horrible circumstance of a child with an often fatal illness. But as a result of this experience, our words about faith in God were more powerful and believable to those acquainted with our situation. And this psalm encourages that kind of faith despite circumstances. And then finally, this psalm reminds us of the coming of God's kingdom. Despite abuses and present-day injustice, we can be assured that God will not forever let the world continue as it is, but one day will bring universal peace and righteousness. Ultimately, God will bless the righteous, condemn the wicked, and bring peace to people. He will get rid of all those scepters of wickedness. And we continue to pray, thy kingdom come, when that will indeed be the case. Well, that's my presentation of Psalm 125, and I am Dr. Joe Sprinkle.